What is going on, everybody? Sorry for the little delay there. I was just making sure I had one edit done in my lineups. It's a pretty small slate tonight, and I have been scouring everything I can to try to find ways of getting off of some of the chalk on a 7-game slate that's playing like a 6-gamer. Not great hitting conditions in some of the spots, but great hitting conditions in other ones. Good pitchers out there, so it's kind of tricky. The thing I'm doing is I think you can do the bottom of St. Louis. I also don't think you need to stack today. So I have some 3-3-2s, some 3-3-1-1s, some 4-2-2s, some 4-2-1-1s. And I am going to play some from St. Louis. I am going to play some from New York. But what I'm going to do is try and include guys like Anthony Rendon for a home run. All the guys I wanted from our early, Brandon Lau and Mike Trout were in like almost all my lineups that didn't have Ohtani or McClanahan. And I was really ready to start, getting like a 2-man stack of the Angels, a 2-man stack of the Rays, or a 3-man stack of the Rays. And I have a bunch of secondary lineups like that. But in my big buy-in lineup, I actually I have a 3-3-1-1 right now. I just think it's a weird slate, and I really am having trouble getting off of the St. Louis chalk as being, if I had to stack a team, stack. It's the only game with an extreme hitters umpire, the best hitting weather on the slate. The Atlanta game is the other one that I think you could try to target both sides of. Maybe give a little edge to Boston because there's no Acuna in the lineup. Otherwise, I would have been higher on Atlanta today. One thing that's worth noting is that Eovaldi, who does challenge people, he'll give up home runs. So one-offs or mini stacks, I think, make a lot of sense there. But in terms of full stacks, the Mets and the Cardinals just stand out as being significantly better. The problem is it's just hard to find a way to get different while using those stacks. And, you take the Detroit-Oakland game, I was trying to figure out a way to do something with, but it's really hard because, again, you don't have great hitting weather there, and it's not like you can fall in love with either of the lineups. So, you've got wind blowing in from left over there. It is 76 degrees for what it's worth. So I would prefer the lefties in that situation. Unfortunately, both people who are starting are lefties. So it's just makes it really tricky. There's not like a lot of fun ways to get different, but including some, I do have a Rays stack on FanDuel. Mostly my Rays, they're 3-man stacks. But I do have a number of them on DraftKings. I have a 4-man stack in my 250 buy-in from Tampa Bay, just because Ohtani is that type of volatile pitcher that you can get to, and it's just a great way to get, from a game theory perspective, to get different. Favorite bats from Tampa Bay would be Arozarena, Franco, Choi, then probably Yandy. It's hard to get all. You can't get all 4 on DraftKings, but you can on FanDuel. And then if you want to include guys like Kiermaier, the problem is you probably want to try to attack Ohtani, maybe getting wild and then giving up a long ball or something like that. I don't believe Ohtani's allowed a stolen base this year. Maybe he did in his first outing. I don't have that one in front of me, but that's why it's just a tricky slate. It's just one of those. I'm worried about the weather, and I mean, look, I don't want to play that Houston game anyway. It is hot in Minnesota, but you got wind blowing in at 15 miles an hour from right center field. And even if the game plays, it's just hard to be too in love with it. And I don't buy that it's necessarily going to play. So this slate becomes very small, and we've got good pitchers everywhere. So that's what we're trying to deal with here. So drop in questions, drop in thoughts. I'll talk about some basketball after we get through some baseball, but that is the way I have it. If I had to do the rankings of the stacks, unfortunately, even including the ownership, I still have St. Louis, New York, then Tampa Bay, then the Atlanta-Boston game. Both sides of it, I think, are interesting. But it is hard to get different on this slate, make no mistake about it. And sometimes just getting a couple guys in the single-digit ownerships that are going to, like a Rendon at really low ownership against a lefty. Rendon, by the way, finally hits a home run after struggling like crazy, but he hit it left-handed last night. Did you guys see that? They brought in the Brett Phillips to pitch. They were at 11-0 or whatever it was at the time. And he hit a home run off of him left-handed. He batted left-handed, hit a home run. So maybe that'll get Rendon going right-handed against lefties, which he used to crush. And I know McClanahan's really good, but I don't mind trying to pick that one spot. The Texas-Kansas City game is another game you certainly can get some exposure to. Another one that I like quite a bit on FanDuel. Salvador Perez price over there. I don't think Hunter Dozier gets much ownership, and I like the power upside there. I think you play Witt if you're going to make a full stack to try and get a little bit off of, again, what's double-digit chalk on most spots. So that's what I'm trying to do. Just trying to find ways to get a little bit different in a few spots that'll be enough to give me a chance at winning a tournament. Priorities for the Mets is Alonso number 1, followed by Marte Lindor and Nimmo, but I do prefer Seager to Lindor at short, so I'm a little bit struggling with that one as well. These are the spots to attack, and that's what I'm doing is the 3-3 with the other bats. I am now using Ohtani in my main lineup on DraftKings, but I have a plenty of McClanahan, McGill. I've got a lot of Joey Wentz taking just that weird shot to, again, he's going to be owned even, but it allows me to do a couple different things with my lineup that I liked, and I think McGill is the real good pivot off of McClanahan. And I do have some Eovaldi and a tiny bit of Mikolas as well, but not as into Mikolas with the extreme hitters umpire in that game and the weather being so hot. So those are my priorities for the Mets. What A's would I like tonight? I don't have any A's in any lineup, so take that for what you will. It would be Pinder would be my favorite. I don't like messing with wind. The problem is you're playing against a lefty, and you're trying to have them hit home runs into the wind, which is just a hard thing to do when it's directly to left, coming out of left field directly. It's just going to take a lot of extra power to get there. But if I had to play any, it'd be Pinder, Noose, Laureano, and Bethancourt would be my favorites. Bethancourt's already a good play anyway because he's so cheap at catcher at 2,100, so he's fine. And you don't need home runs out of everybody, but if you're going to play stacks, you're going to want somebody to hit a home run or at least have a chance to, and they could. It's not like we're talking about 20-mile-an-hour winds, but it is, going to gust to past 10 for a while. It's going to be somewhere between 8 and 12 was what I've got for the whole game. So it just doesn't feel good when it's coming directly from left. I don't mind the Mets one as much because it's coming more from right center, and I am leaning more towards the righties on the Mets side, even though I do have some Nimmo and some Lindor who will bat lefty tonight. I'm not playing Dominic Smith much. I do have a little bit of Escobar, a little bit of Nido, and a little bit of Guillermo just to try and get different where I am fully stacking. So that's where I'm at with those. Keep firing on any questions of thoughts you guys have, anything you guys are noticing. As I said, the one pitching that stands out is you do have the extreme hitters umpire in the best hitting conditions in St. Louis, and it's going to be a hard game to fade. I don't mind if you want to take some Baltimore bats. I don't like stacking against Mikolas. He gives up hits, but he doesn't walk people very. I mean, he has more this year, but in general, it's sort of his MO that he's good at keeping, he's a good control pitcher, keeps the ball down. So I don't mind if you want to take some shots on Baltimore bats. If I had to pick, it's always going to be Cedric Mullins number one. And then you've got Austin Hayes, who's cheap, Santander, who's cheap. I don't mind, mixing in Chirinos as another cheap catcher option. And I don't mind Odor at minimum cost at second base. So those are the guys I would use from Baltimore. I do like Texas. Thanks a lot, K9, about that Seager. Yeah, that was a helpful one for me. And I'm going back to it again today for what it's worth. So I really do like Seager, especially on FanDuel. His price is kind of egregious, which is going to make him owned. But Seager, Garcia, Simeon, Nate Lowe, even Eli White, with maybe you mix in Solak, but sort of in that order, I would go Seager number one. I would go number two Garcia, number three Simeon, even though he's been awful. Number four Lowe, then maybe, you can flip a coin between White, Ibanez, and Solak. I just tend to like to play White because he does actually have power. Whether or not he's even realized it or not is a different story, but he does have real power. Yepez and Donovan. Oh, Yepez is going to be the most popular play on the slate. I don't even think it's going to be close, by the way, of the hitters. So Yepez is not getting different at all. Donovan's going to be owned as well. So I wouldn't get to your hopes up that you're getting different with a St. Louis stack by playing Yepez and Donovan. I do think Corey Dickerson might end up with a little bit lower own. I'm going to check the updated SaberSim projections. I won't give away the exact number because some people, are still not members. But I will take a quick look and see what, get sort of an outline of what I've got for those guys. And yeah, I don't have anybody not double-digit owned on the St. Louis side of things. And the Mets are going to be fairly similarly, unfortunately. Corey Dickerson being the lowest owned at just around 10%. So you're not really going to get different with anything in a St. Louis stack, to be honest. The way to do it is to not fully stack. Maybe if you do it and you leave out Arenado and Goldschmidt, if you want to do something different, that's a way to get different with it. But it's tough. But it's not a great slate. It's strange. I like to get different on these small slates. I was very up on the Tampa thing, the lineup they came out with, and the fact that they cross positions between Choi and Diaz, who are two of the bats you'd want. Franco is expensive, but I love him anyway. And I love a Rosarena. If you're not playing, these are your non-Otani lineups. But to lose Low out of the lineup, Lau, however you want to pronounce it, does take away some of that power upside. And then we're sort of looking at guys who we just sort of hope get there. And Choi, Rosarena, Franco are the best chance for the power. So that's what I would go with if you're going to do the Tampa thing that I'm suggesting you get some exposure to. While they might, get one hit in 7 innings, they also might knock him out in the first or second inning, as we saw Texas do earlier this season. We just know Otani has a wide range of outcomes. Yes, I am worried about the Astros games being postponed. I am not interested in either of the teams anyway, so it doesn't really affect me much because I don't like anybody except for I like Urquidy a little bit. That game has serious winds blowing in 15 miles an hour plus, so I have no interest in stacking in games like that. Now, this slate is smaller, so you're going to have to make some exceptions, but 15 miles an hour plus, you're just asking a lot for any power in those situations. Transitioning over in basketball, it's going to be, again, I posted my bets for the games today. It's going to be really, I don't think I'm fading Giannis anywhere. I am going to play Jaylen Brown and think this is a good Jaylen Brown spot. I think that, they're going to try and take away Tatum, which they've done mostly, except for the last game. Tatum was incredible in the fourth. And for what it's worth, I like Milwaukee a lot with the points in this game. I'm giving that one free one away. And I also really think that one thing you can do to get way off the board, DeAnthony Melton played 9 minutes. And when Ja was playing, in the games Ja played even, DeAnthony Melton played 25, 26, and 27 minutes, or 28 minutes. I think that there's a chance that maybe we don't just see 9 minutes out of DeAnthony Melton tonight. So he is my super sleeper play of the day. The guy that I think you're going to want to get some pieces of if you're playing large field tournaments. And we just because they played a certain minutes than the last game, we can't just assume they're going to do the exact same thing again. Although it did work, they should have probably won that game. They just didn't finish the job. And when you hold Golden State to 101 points, you got to win those games. Golden State doesn't. They're always going to be. That's literally like the nut low for them. I don't know if they ever go below 100. Anyway, so guys who I am using, and let me just refresh my page here and make sure I'm giving you guys the accurate what I'm doing. But Melton's one way to get different. Again, it's a big field tournament play, or if you're willing to take a big gamble, but it's the kind of thing that could pay off. I like Derek White. Obviously, he's going to be popular. I hate that we got him so cheap the other day, and now you're going to get him with ownership because we got him so low owned the other day because I really liked him coming into the last game without Robert Williams. I think there's paths for him to be on the court at the end of games, depending on the score situation and whatnot. Also, any foul trouble, and he's gonna be right there. And we know Marcus Smart can occasionally let that happen, get into some foul trouble. So, I just ended up going to my baseball thing instead of my basketball. But I mean, look, we have a 2-game slate, so you're not going to be able to get that different. I think that if you want to make another reachy play, Grayson Allen is a guy who stands out to me as a potential you could use. Hasn't had a good game in this series really, but he was okay the first game. He put up 22. I'd take 22 out of the 3,900 guy. I think there's an outside chance that Bobby Portis could end up getting more run in this game, but again, I don't love it. I don't love Lopez, but I am using a little bit of him. Connaughton and Grayson Allen. I just mentioned the Grayson Allen thing, but Grayson Allen will be significantly lower owned than Connaughton. And you could always take the Wesley Matthews shot. Like, we know he's going to play minutes, right? He doesn't do much on the court, but he did put up 19 fantasy points in the last game, made 3 out of his 4 threes. That's what it's going to take for him to get there. He is, he's cheap and he's going to be low owned. So those are sort of some guys from Milwaukee. On the Boston side of things, basically everybody who I like is going to be owned. I think you could maybe make an argument that Grant Williams maybe gets hot at 4,600. Maybe you could take that shot. I don't love it. I don't love Pritchard. I don't love Tice. I think Tice is actually more viable than Tice is pretty viable. Let me rephrase it. I think he's viable, but we've got him projected for 15 minutes, but even without Robert Williams, he hasn't played more than 10 in this series so far. And it's not really the kind of series where they want that kind of matchup either. So I don't think, it's not like the last series where there was times where he would get more run. I just don't think I don't see that happening very likely unless there's some foul trouble. I give it a little bit of an edge to Poole over Clay, but I actually have just a feeling that Clay is going to have a good night tonight. So I'm going to be playing a good amount of Clay. I'm kind of skipping Curry and just hoping. I am going to play some Draymond, and I'm going to play some Wiggins, who people keep forgetting about, but has actually played really well in this series, and is also the production has matched that. Very, very difficult to fade Dylan Brooks in any format. Almost impossible for me to fade Tyus Jones on DraftKings. Tough on FanDuel too. And if you do, you kind of want to think about a little D'Anthony Melton. Really like Kyle Anderson. I think that there's, Kyle Anderson had a big game in limited minutes the other day. Was really, really, really good, and had 8 boards at 36 fantasy points, and he's 4,300. I wouldn't expect that same result, but I do like speculating on him. Very tough for me to keep Steven Adams out of my lineup, assuming that he is in fact in the starting lineup, which I am projecting to be the case as of right now. In a similar mold to D'Anthony Melton, you could argue that Brandon Clark could potentially get more run. Played really well in game 1, has sort of trailed off minutes wise since then. And I wouldn't mind that shot, but I prefer the Melton idea because I could see them using him. And I don't think this is the Zaire Williams game, but I did consider him early on. I don't think I'm there right now. It seems unlikely they're going to let a 19-year-old go out there and try to win in an elimination game. So I'm not going to take that path myself. All right, guys, fire in any more questions or thoughts. Otherwise, I will get out of here whenever we're done with that. It's not a whole lot to talk about on this baseball slate because it's not all that exciting, and I am definitely overheating. It's extreme weather conditions over here. Just crazy wind has made it either really, really freezing at night or really, really hot during the day, and it's rough. There's no such thing as buying lineups. We don't sell lineups. That's not what we do. Yeah, that's not. I don't know what Nick's talking about. That's not a thing. I was never playing the Braves on DK much, but I did make one Boston/Braves game stack just in hopes that because of the weather and you have, a pitcher, especially Anderson can get a little wild, which could get him into trouble. And you've got Eovaldi who will challenge hitters, which could give up home runs. So that's the way I would look at that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Taking a quick look if there's anybody else I'm including that haven't really talked much about. I don't think so. It's basically all of the things I've got on my list. So if you guys have any other thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, I will bounce whenever you guys are out of here. Where is my man Nick Nelson, by the way? We were on fire with the NBA ones last night. I bet the unders in both games and the both teams to win. I had a friend who had it all in a parlay, had a nice payday. I had both home teams and then it was there was no real sweat ever. It was like they were blowouts. There was a close at halftime in the Golden State in the Phoenix game, but I really thought Phoenix was always going to pull away. I'm not on a boat. No, I'm not. I'm at my family's place while some family members are recovering from some unfortunate incidents. So I am actually on a rented trailer that we have up here that's just on the outside of the property. So that's where I am. Thanks a lot, man. Hey, I really appreciate that, Project Mayhem. I really appreciate the kind words. It really, it does mean a lot to me. Excellent question from Brandon Cruz about Zaire Williams versus Wesley Matthews. Zaire Williams I want to say Zaire Williams, but I do feel like in an elimination game that you're going to see them go with their main guys. And Zaire Williams, I really believe in this kid in the future. I just don't know how much run they're really going to give him. So I guess that the answer is probably still Zaire Williams. I do think that Matthews with the secure minutes does feel like more the play to me. It's rough between those two. I have those both as like a rough, because you really are just praying Matthews hits a few threes. Zaire Williams at least can do a few things on the court. Matthews is just going to hit some threes and play defense, or try to hit threes. And he could play 30 minutes and literally not have a fantasy point. It wouldn't surprise me. Those are really, that's a really, really tough one. I personally in my main lineup don't have either of them, but I certainly understand it. And I'm struggling with how to answer it because I just made I really feel like this is the spot where Zaire gets less minutes. And again, he doesn't have to be productive in his minutes either. He's sort of just out there, I mean, he can do some more things, like he can get a few boards, potentially a stock or two, but maybe you take the game environment into Zaire, or do you feel want the more secure minutes? I guess depending on the rest of your lineup, if the rest of your lineup is more built around whichever game it's more built around. Like if you already have 3 Memphis guys, maybe then you would take Wesley Matthews, but it's just such an ugly path for Wesley Matthews. I would really like to try to get, if I in that price range, I just made sure for myself to try to get up to Connaughton or Allen. So I'm struggling with answering that question. I'm sorry. I wish I could do better on it. The weird answer that the off the board one, you could throw George Hill into the mix with those 2 guys. I don't love any of them at all. I guess you just hope things go a certain route maybe and play Zaire, but I don't know, man. If you get the 5 3-point game from Wesley Matthews, I'm gonna feel like an idiot. So I don't feel great. Roof not open in Texas. I did have that information already. Appreciate it though. Always good to know. And of course that makes the hitting a little bit less exciting, but that's not that exciting anywhere except for St. Louis, which is going to be like literally like some guys are going to be like 30+% owned. And it's just really hard to get different with that stack. Unless you fade both Arenado and you probably have to fade Goldschmidt to get different enough. So I'm using them as a 3-man stack and trying to not go 5-man and if I am, to include Bader, Dickerson, and Donovan. So that way you get all 7, 8, 9 and get all the lower owned cheapos. And I think that's a very viable route to go. Anyway, guys, so I'm sorry I couldn't do a better job with that one, Brandon. It's a rough call on that. It's both kind of gross, but yeah. Nobody I know sold you a lineup, Nick. I promise you. Nobody I know has ever sold a lineup, and it's going to stay that way. So not sure if that's a real thing or a trolling thing, but I have definitely never sold a lineup in my life, and I don't know anyone who does. Who's my buddy? If that's true, tell me who my buddy is, and then I'll tell you what's up. Guys, please give us the like and before you get out of here, and please fire in any more thoughts. I do have it until this never happened, Nick. So nobody ever sold one. I don't know what you're trying to do, but it's absolutely not true. And if my buddy did, or if somebody did, show me the receipts. I'm right here. We're right here. So don't make up stuff and say this. Do it. Sorry, Brandon. Yeah, I wish I could do better for you, buddy. I'm struggling there myself. I think the Zaire is probably the upside play. Maybe things are going bad for the starting unit, and then he comes in and they he and Melton sort of do their thing a little bit, and maybe he stays on the court longer for that. Because if he's on the court as much as Matthews, it's easy decision. But the odds of him getting as many minutes or even close to Matthews is really, really, really unlikely. All right, let's see what else we got. Yeah, this is really weird. I'm going to block this person because this is clearly a troll, and I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening. So this user is no longer going to be seen by anybody on this channel because I don't have any idea what this thing is. If I sold lineups, by the way, I would not be selling them for $500. And I do give away my early lineups. You guys see basically what I'm doing. I mean, my NBA one, I ended up having to make a pivot, obviously, when we saw the starting lineups and everything yesterday. But like, I finished 19th in the 555 with it, and was literally a 1v1 away from winning the damn thing. I could have gone stress over Kleba, and I just made that mistake. So that's that. Anyway, fire on in any more thoughts. This is so the selling lineups thing is just such a weird thing to me. I don't even know why would anybody want to buy a lineup for. To me, it's always been interesting to try to get better, understand the game, get the plays, understand it from the people who have done it for a while. Like that's we want to bring value. We want to focus on process and how we're building things that make sense. The type of slates you want to fully stack, and maybe on some smaller slates not. When you can use hitters against pitchers on small slates, there's just a million different things to go through. I don't know why we would just be selling lineups there, but I don't, David. That's a really I don't know what that question means. Oh no, it's definitely not. You're not playing a relief pitcher today. That would be. I'll just say right now that would be a terrible, terrible decision. There are plenty of good pitching options on this slate, and that's partly why the hitting is not all that exciting. And the hitting's not all that exciting pretty much any day. We're starting to see a little bit better as the weather gets better, but we do have a different ball. We do have it's going to be more pitching, oriented stuff a lot this year. And you have pitchers who aren't going to pitch as far into games, which is going to always bring the run totals down. That's why, like, when teams play their bullpen games, we all get excited because we see guys who are like, oh, this guy sucks and he's this and that, and we never see him. He's only pitched 2 innings. but a bunch of guys pitching 2 innings is much harder to a regular season game to have a stack that scores 10 runs to score 10 runs against than it is to do it off of, a pitcher who they're trying to let get his reps in. Yeah, I mean, there's always a slate. There's no, I don't know, I've never phrased something exactly like that myself, but I understand what you're saying. But yeah, you never ever should go into any slate thinking about playing a relief pitcher unless it's a showdown. Every now and then there will be a spot where you have a long guy, like a long, a guy's going to come in for Tampa Bay and it's going to be, Ryan Yarbrough, and he's going to get his 75 to 85 pitches. That's a spot where you could use somebody sometimes. But in general, when there's good pitching options, you don't want to be playing 4K pitchers. Any Oakland on DK? I see the prices. I don't like taking right-handed hitters hitting into the wind when it comes to, and that is how you'd want to attack the young fella. I am using that pitcher, so I'm going to be using the pitcher for Detroit. So I am not on Oakland at all. It certainly wouldn't be bad to play guys like Pinder or Laureano. Those would be the ones I would use the most. Probably Laureano being the best play, but Pinder's price at 2.5 is hard to ignore. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got, guys. I really do appreciate all the kind words and everything, and hopefully things will be recovered and I'll be back in a normal place soon, but it's probably going to be a little while, unfortunately. So I will be bringing you everything I got. Again, firing questions into the Discord. We're here to answer. We're here to help. We want to make everybody profitable. Shout out to K9 Bronco for taking down the single entry. Shout out to Sheets for taking down the 5K, the 121 single entry today on the day slate. Sheets called it, said it on air, said I'm playing the Reds, and it paid off huge for him. So that was a really, 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 really nice day for him, and glad to see our guys taking one down, Sheets and K9, and hopefully we have a couple more tonight. Yeah. So anyway, guys, good luck to everybody. I'm going to finish my basketball editing lineups, firing on any questions in the Discord, and we will hopefully see one of you guys at the top of the leaderboards tonight. Good luck, everybody.